Hello and welcome to this session, and in this session we shall dive deeper into Python programming by coding our second program in Python. Yes, in this session we shall be coding a program to compute the simple interest. Well, I'm sure that many of my learners have heard about this term called as the simple interest, and that you also know that the formula to compute the simple interest happens to be PTR by 100. Well, here P stands for the principal amount that you would have taken as the loan, T stands for the time duration for which you would have taken the loan, and R stands for the rate of interest that the bank shall be charging from you for taking the loan, and whatever is computed as PTR by 100 is stored in SI, which happens to be the simple interest. Well, the simple interest means that this is the extra money that you need to be paying back to the bank along with the principal amount at the time of returning the loan. Well, let me tell all of my learners that banks actually do not charge simple interest from you. Rather, what the banks charge is the compound interest. Well, that way I want to keep this session pretty simple, and hence I am presuming that you have approached such a bank for the purpose of loan that the bank is actually charging simple interest from you. And in this session we need to be coding a program for this, and through the program we need to understand Python in greater detail. So let me proceed. Now, let's assume that you are in need of a loan amount of a 1.5 lakh rupee. Well, this loan amount that is required by you from the bank is what we refer to as the principal, which in short we store it inside the variable P. And for what duration would you be requiring this loan amount for? Assume that you require it for a time duration of 4.5 years, and that 4.5 years is what is represented as 4.5 over here, and that is stored inside the variable T that represents the time duration. But then banks don't offer you any loan without charging an interest from you. Obviously, they shall be charging a certain rate of interest, and in this case the rate of interest maybe happens to be 6.5%. And this is what we shall be storing inside our variable R that represents the rate of interest. And now that you really have all of this, then what you have to compute is what is the simple interest that really you will have to be paying back to the bank towards the end of the 4.5 years. And if you will have to compute it, your mathematics teachers would have told you that this happens to be the formula. And whatever is the computed value, I shall be keeping it inside a variable called SI, which is what is representing the simple interest. And once that is computed, I want to print the value of the simple interest, which is what this print command is doing. Well, even before I execute this program, I want you to carefully notice this print command. Don't you see that the print command has been coded in such a manner that we have made use of the %f format specifier, due to which I shall be getting up to 6 digits after the decimal point as my result. Well, obviously, in the banking context, having up to 6 digits after the decimal point really doesn't make any sense, because whatever comes after the decimal point represents the paisa part of it, and paisa can maximum be only up to 2 digits, which is why I will be bringing in this change. Yes, after all, by mentioning 0.2f over here, I am sure you understand that the output shall be formatted and printed in such a manner that I shall be getting only 2 digits after the decimal point in my output. So all said and done, when I shall execute, you can notice that this happens to be the simple interest. Yes, you need to be paying back to the bank a simple interest of 43,875 rupees along with the principal amount of 1.5 lakhs that you would have taken at the end of the 4.5 years. But then there is so much more that I can polish this program and make it look even more efficient. So let me proceed. No doubt, this program code is computing the simple interest and is also printing it, but then I can enhance the manner in which the output is printed. What I mean to say is that in this print command, I would wish to add this, that the simple interest is, and then I want the simple interest to be printed. Well, not just that, in this program, only the simple interest is what we are printing. We are actually not printing the total repayable amount, and hence I bring in this another print command which tells that the total repayable amount is, and then I would definitely wish to print it also to the accuracy of 2 digits after the decimal point. But then how do I print the total? I have not even computed the total. Well, that is the reason that I will have to be creating a variable called total, and you know that at the end of the 4.5-year loan tenure that you need to pay back to the bank not only the principal but also the simple interest. And now that you have computed this total is what you need to be printing in this print command. And now that all of this is done, upon execution, you can notice that the output indeed now is more readable. It is clearly indicating that the simple interest happens to be 43,875 rupees and that the total repayable amount to the bank happens to be 1,93,875 rupees. Hope I am completely clear with this. No doubt, this program definitely works fine, but then there is a problem in this program that the values of P, T and R have been hard-coded. Well, you know that we should never hard code these values and put them into the variables. Rather, we need to be accepting the input from the user. And if we really have to accept the input from the user, then I shall be removing all these hard coded values from the program, and then I shall be bringing in the input method at these places. Yes, and what should I really be giving as a prompt inside this input method? Well, inside the first input method, I shall be prompting the user to enter the principal amount. In this second input method, I shall be prompting the user to enter the time duration for which the loan is required. And in this third input method, I shall be prompting the user to enter the rate of interest that the bank is charging from him. And now that all of these prompts are ready, I can execute my program. And now upon execution, you can notice that indeed my program is asking me to enter the principal amount, and I shall be entering it as 1.5 lakhs. And then it is asking me to enter the time duration, and hence I shall be entering it as 4.5 years. And then it is asking me to enter the rate of interest, and the moment I enter it as 6.5, oops, rather than getting the output, I'm getting an error. Well, you already know as to why we have got this error. Basically, the problem is in these 3 lines. You know that when I'm going to take the input from the user, the input would not be in the required format that I want. Rather, I will have to explicitly specify as to what should the input from the user be treated as. Obviously, the principal amount that the user is going to be entering should be treated as a float, and that I can be specifying by enclosing this entire thing within the float method like this. Similarly, in the next line as well, whatever is the time duration that the user is going to enter, it shall not be in the float type, it shall be in the string type. What is the string type and why really the input from the user is going to be in the string type by default is something that I shall be telling you moving forward. But as of now, because the input that the user would have given would be in the string type, that it is my responsibility to convert that string type data into the required data type, and here I would definitely wish the data to be of float type, and that is what I am specifying by mentioning this entire thing as well within the float method. And then even in the next line as well, that whatever is the rate of interest that is going to be input by the user shall be in the string type, and I want to convert it to the float type, and that is what I have done over here. And now that you have made all of these changes, upon execution, you can notice that indeed the program is asking me to enter the principal amount, in which case I shall be entering it as 1.5 lakhs. And then it is asking me to enter the time duration, in which case I shall be entering it as 4.5 years. And then it is asking me to enter the rate of interest, wherein I am keying in as 6.5, and now you can notice that the program is telling me that the simple interest happens to be 43,875 rupees and that the total repayable amount to the bank at the end of 4.5 years happens to be 1,93,875 rupees. Hope I am completely clear with this. So I'm sure that all of my learners have indeed been able to understand this program, but then one last piece of input that I would wish to provide to my learners is that this style of formatting that we have used in the print command is what we refer to as the old style of formatting. There is a new style of formatting that Python permits us, and I want you to understand the new format. Well, what is that new format if you would ask me? All that I will have to do is that this percentage symbol over here, I shall be eliminating and bringing in a colon over there, and this detail with respect to the formatting is what something that I shall be placing within the flower brackets like this. and then this second percentage symbol I shall be eliminating, and at its place I shall be bringing in dot format, and that the variable SI I shall be placing it inside the format method like this. Well, this is what is the new style of formatting that Python permits. Again, whether you want to use the old format or the new format is up to you, but then this was our old format, and let me again repeat that if you want to convert this old format to the new format, all that you have to do is to remove this percentage, bring in a colon, and this detail related to the formatting needs to be enclosed within the flower braces like this. And then this second percentage I can eliminate and bring in a dot format over here, and then I can be placing SI as the parameter of the format method like this. Well, now that you have been able to understand, now the same thing I would wish to implement it in the second print command, and you already know that this first percentage I shall be eliminating and bringing in a colon, and this detail related to formatting I shall be enclosing it within the flower braces. And then this second percentage I shall be eliminating and bringing in dot format, and I shall be placing total within the dot format method. Well, this style of formatting is what we refer to as the new style, but all said and done, I would again wish to tell my learners that whatever is the style of formatting that you are comfortable with, definitely you can be continuing to use the same, but then it was my responsibility to communicate to you that this happens to be the old style of formatting the output, and this happens to be the new style of formatting the output. And now that you have understood all of this, upon execution, again you can notice that it is asking me for the principal amount, and I shall enter it as 1.5 lakhs. It is asking me the time duration, I'll enter it as 4.5 years. It is asking me the rate of interest, which I shall be entering it as 6.5, and you can see that the simple interest as well as the total repayable amount is completely the same as what we had got in the previous formatting style. Any which way, I am sure now through this example my learners have also understood the new formatting style, though I would again wish to reiterate as to whatever way in which you would wish to format, you can follow the same. Any which way, one last thing that I would wish to tell you again is that everything is perfect about this program, just that you are not following the standard convention that the IT industry expects you to follow. Whenever you are going to be coding, you should always embed comments. Commenting your code is extremely important, and that is something which you will have to do to every program that you are going to be coding in any language, and definitely in Python as well. Commenting is important. So let me tell you as to how you can comment your code using the different types of comments and match your coding standards to the IT industry standards. So let me proceed. If you will have to comment this program code, then have a look at these 3 lines. What are these 3 lines of the code doing? Don't you know that these 3 lines are actually prompting the user to enter the principal amount, to enter the time duration, and to enter the rate of interest, as well as it is also converting the input values from the string type to the float type so that accurate mathematical calculations can be performed. Well, that is what is the main role that these 3 lines of code are playing, and this information is what has been textually explained over here. In fact, this is what we refer to as the comment. But then you can notice that this comment is not present on a single line, rather it is spread across multiple lines, and such comments that spread across multiple lines is what we refer to as the multi-line comment. But then if you'll have to specify that this happens to be a multi-line comment to the Python interpreter, then you will have to be enclosing whatever text you have put here within the 3 double quotes like this. Well, now definitely the Python interpreter shall understand that this happens to be a multi-line comment. And I'm sure my learners also recollect me saying that it is not a compulsion for you to be enclosing it within the 3 double quotes like this. You can also be enclosing it within the 3 single quotes like this. Well, whether you are really going to be enclosing it within the single quotes or within the double quotes, the choice is yours. But then the point is that by specifying this way, you are informing the Python interpreter that this happens to be a multi-line comment. Hope I am completely clear with this. Anyway, now have a look at this statement. Don't you see that this statement is actually computing the simple interest? In fact, this text over here is what we call as the comment, but then I will have to be placing a hash symbol over here, and the moment I do that, it becomes an inline comment. Well, that way, if the same comment was present above the code like this, then it would have become a single line comment. But then definitely it is not such a lengthy comment that a separate line has to be dedicated to this, and hence I have placed this comment besides the code, and hence it happens to be an inline comment. That way, this next statement is also computing the total repayable amount, and this happens to be a comment, which is why I am specifying a hash over here, and it is needless now for me to say that this also happens to be an inline comment. And finally, these two print commands over here are actually helping me to output the results with a precision of up to 2 digits after the decimal point, and this text as well has to be transformed into a comment, and hence I'm going to be placing a hash over here. Obviously, you can notice that this shall be treated as the single line comment because it is such a lengthy comment that we definitely would be requiring a separate line for it, and moreover, it is also beginning with the hash symbol. So all said and done, this comment happens to be the multi-line comment, these two comments happen to be the inline comment, and this comment happens to be the single line comment. And through this, definitely you have been able to not only understand commenting, you have also transformed your programming code to match the industry standards. And not just that, whenever this code is going to be looked at by you at a later point in time or by your teammates, then definitely with the help of this comment, they shall be able to better understand this programming code, and this shall ensure that there is no confusion amongst the teammates regarding the programming code. All said and done, in this session, I am pretty sure that my learners have been able to gain more confidence about Python programming, and that this second program that you have coded using Python has definitely given you that additional confidence. In my next session, I shall be diving deeper into the various aspects of Python, particularly telling you about what really tokens are and the different types of tokens in Python. Yes, all of these happen to be the various types of token in Python, and definitely in my next session, I shall be diving deep into each one of them and explaining to you in great detail. But then all that you really have to do to master this programming language is to just continue watching this video series. Hope this session was informative. Thanks for watching. Let's meet again in my next session.